Okay, finished Mannheim, Veterama 2025. 3 days of walking and looking and digging and trying to speak German. Um, and it was awesome. So I think I walked all told 22 hours cumulatively. So that was it was a great show. I've never been to anything that big. I've been to a lot of swap meets, but that was huge. The first day, Friday, I walked or I got there at 12:15 because it opened at 12. I didn't know how crowded VIP would be or if there would be any sort of early birds like there are. Of course there are. What was I thinking? I should have got there at 10:30. So it took me about an hour to get in the gate. When I arrived at 12:15, it was just so crowded. But not, it wasn't like annoyingly crowded. Like Portland International and like Barber can get pretty busy, and there's like no. It was on par with those swaps, but I think the variety of things was kind of above and beyond. So the number of people that were actually there felt pretty manageable. Saturday was really busy, but anyway, funny enough, the second day, Saturday, I showed up and I couldn't find my armband. So on the first day, you're issued an armband with your ticket, all very German. You scan your card or you scan the PDF or your piece of paper, whatever, as a ticket, and then you're issued an armband and a little bracelet, and then that's your ticket. Like your PDF, your receipt, your hey, I have this ticket is worthless because now you have this armband, and somehow there's no way to see that you've had. Anyway, so the second day I forgot my bracelet at the hotel, and so I showed up and I said, hey man, like, what is it? Ich vergesse meine Armband. And I said, oh, sorry, too bad. And I'm in front of a mass of probably 400 people trying to get into this gate at 8:30 in the morning. And he's like, yeah, sorry. I said, what do you mean you're sorry? I got to go back to the hotel and get my bracelet like this. And I'm showing him the ticket on my phone. And I'm like, this is my ticket. This is me. And he's like, well, no, your bracelet's your ticket. Sorry. And just was like, yeah, peace. And I got obviously very irritated and frustrated, and I couldn't tell if I was miscommunicating or if my German was just so bad. And then a bouncer comes over and like, says, we have a problem, and then I got whatever duded up, and then I'm like, who are you getting in my face? And it was terrible way to start the day. And so I got out of the line and I realized I'll just buy a day pass. And so I went and bought a day pass, got back in line and had to do the thing. And then later in the day it warmed up, and of course I took my hoodie off, and damn it if my armband hadn't just ridden up the thing, hadn't just ridden up my arm and was hiding in my shirt. So I had my armband on the entire time. So anyway, that sucked. Saturday was a big day. I mean, because Friday was so overwhelming, I didn't know what I would find. Meaning, I don't want to spend all my money like right out of the gate, because there's plenty of opportunity to, mind you. But like, what happens if I get to the other end of the show and then there's the seat that I need and there's the whatever that I came here looking for? And because that would be my luck, and I did not want to blow a bunch of money unnecessarily because it's easy for me to do that. So the first day I kind of took it easy. I found some really rad boots that are completely over the top, but and totally unnecessary, but they were brand new old stock. The guy who owned them or sold them to me had worn them a couple times, and then he just sort of, I think he liked the way they look. Anyway, I found the same boots used in another part of the show for like 150 euros, just insane. And then he gave them to me for like 45. I thought they were great. I like that this guy had them. Anyway, nice guy. So I bought some boots, and then I carry these fire engine red boots around with me all day Friday, in my purse. And anyway, and then later on, I found there's not a there's a lot of British stuff, but there's not a lot of like specific British stuff. Not a lot of Ariel stuff. Not a lot of Velocet. Whole bunch of BSA. A lot of Triumph, but a lot of pre-war stuff. That was the biggest thing I noticed, was it was mostly pre-war. So at one point, I'm looking for something for my BMW, my slash 2, and it's a 62. And, the guy asked me what year it was, and I said it was a slash 2, and he said, oh, that's way too new. Okay, there we go. So anyway, it's old stuff. So back to Friday, I found this a seat. Point being, I couldn't find Ariel like Lisette seats, little leather saddles with springs that had a particular configuration on the bottom for the lower springs. And I finally found one, and it was beautiful patinated brown leather awesomeness. I paid up for that, and luckily enough, that was the only one I saw. Certainly for the price that I paid. I paid €100 for a seat, which, okay, but I didn't find another one for less than €200 or €300. Not to say it was a good deal, but it was just it was that kind of thing where things were weirdly expensive, and then you'd find it for like a third of that price, and whatever. So that was really it. That was all I got on the first day. And so I went back, and that was enough to carry. Those things were heavy. So Saturday, early morning, I decided to get there as soon as I could. I wanted to be in the front of the line. And so I got there about 7:45 for an 8:30 opening. It shouldn't that early, actually. Anyway, I wasn't anywhere near the very front of the line. I was probably 20 people deep. But had the whole kerfuffle with the bracelet, and walked around, and as I do these swaps, like there's so many things that I quote unquote need in terms of parts or small things that I could probably just find it on eBay eventually when I need it, but I'll overpay, and it'll just be a whole thing. It's not like I need it immediately, but one of the things that I will be able to use at some point is like Whitworth tools, for Velocet and AJS. So I bought a bunch of packs of Whitworth and British Standard screws and nuts, and now in retrospect I should have bought more, but I need 2 bolts that are 1/2 inch, 24 inch, 26 inch threads per inch British Standard bolts to screw on the top of the oil tank to hold the side cover on. TMI. But I need these 2 bolts, and the Norton is done. And no one in Seattle has any spares, or at least will part with them. Found them, got them. Norton, check, done. Norton's gonna be done. And then I found, what else did I get? So Saturday's the day. Saturday is sort of meat and potatoes. If you don't buy it, if you find it and you like it and the price is good enough, you better get it, because you're going to come back later and you got 30% chance that it's going to be there again. So go ahead and get it. Be judicious as possible. But I started buying stuff. I found a really rad Ducati sweatshirt. It's absolutely ugly as a sweatshirt, but it's so cool. The guy bought it at the Isle of Man, at the Ducati paddock or whatever, and of course never wore it because it's a giant red and white Ducati thing. It's got Ducati on the sleeves, and bought that. And then I'm thinking about one of the sort of missions I had here was to find stuff, one, to populate Top Dead Center in terms of display stuff, but that was lower priority. What I'm really looking for is stuff to sell, because a lot of this stuff is super standard in the EU, but you can't find them in the States, or they're very different or whatever. So knowing that a lot of the women that come into Top Dead Center, they really love the overalls that I've gotten from Japan. So I bought a couple pair of sort of European garage overalls with a Bosch um, badge on the chest. Now they're super great. I can't wait to bring them back. And then I got, what else? Oh, more stuff for British, because there's so much good British stuff. I was able to find the one guy. This is always the case. There's one guy who has the particular mark of whatever that I'm looking for. No one else has anything, but he's got all of it. And of course, he had all of it for that, what I needed for the Velocette, but it was for a Venom, which is the 500cc version. I have the MAC, which is the 350. So finding parts was tough, but he did have the side badge, or the side knee guard plates. And so there's actually, on the side of the tank, there's a plate that bolts onto the sides, and then onto that plate go the rubber knee pads. And he had a bunch. So I bought them all for like 20 euros, and it was great. What else? I got some battery straps for all the BMWs, bunch of tools. So Whitworth tools. I'm always after old Whitworth tools. And what I was specifically after, as far as tools on this trip, were some snap ring pliers. Now Harbor Freight makes them, you can get them for like $3. It's fine. I really wanted some German-made, good tools, and so snap ring pliers are what I was after, and I got 2 pair of those. What else did I get? Oh, posters. So the poster situation is nuts here. Like, of course, there's all these old Grand Prix and advertisements and stuff, and even like the BMW posters you'd hang on your wall as a kid were kind of ludicrously priced. Like 150 euro was the cheaper of the price range, and people wanted sort of top dollar for stuff, and maybe rightly so, but that wasn't my jam. So what I was looking for was the cheap stuff, 50 euro and below, and I'm definitely going to haggle. And I found a pair of Martini racing posters for dirt bikes, and those dirt bikes. What I found were some Martini team dirt bike racing posters right out of the gate. Beautiful, from a guy who had like 2 of each. So I bought one of those. About one of each of those, and he had a Grand Prix poster, and I made a lump deal and packaged them together and got a really good price. Those guys that are willing to haggle are super nice. One of the things I found here is that there's, unlike Italy, like Italy's supposed to be like a haggling, or rather, their stereotype that I understood from Italy was that there's a lot of haggling to be expected, but that wasn't the case. When I do the Italian swaps, people usually make a price, and then when you kind of lowball, they're a little offended, probably rightly so, but they're a little offended. But here, I expected people to be that way. I expected people to be, here's the price, that's it. But people super haggle here at the Veterama. So if you come, don't be afraid to lowball. Like, the price that people put on there is completely flexible. So I found that, and then I asked for a lower price, and 9 times out of 10 I got it. So I made a deal for these posters. I kept going. I found some technical drawings, or at least some drawings that were the original proofs for magazines. Snatched those up. Met a great guy from France, and we'll stay in touch for other stuff. I found some Borg Ward posters. Every once in a while, you'll find the odd guy who has those $200 things for a very reasonable price. And always, if you lump things together, people are pretty flexible in their price. So anyway, I found about 6 different sort of full-size posters, averaged about 20 to 30 euro each. So there's deals to be had, but there's always those guys who want top dollar for mediocre stuff. And then if you just keep looking, you'll find a better version for somebody who's a little more rational. Models. So one of the things I wanted to get here on this trip were European specific motorcycle models, and found them in spades. So I met a guy called Michael out of Germany, and he's a model guy, and we talked probably for an hour and a half collectively. I went back to visit him like 3 or 4 times, ended up buying on Sunday. But he had an amazing collection of Protar, Revell, Hasegawa, models from everywhere, Japan, EU, and America. So we did a lot of great models. We made a deal on some BMW stuff. I found a BMW Rennsport model from Protar, an R75 Road Racer. I think it's a Revell. They weren't cheap, but they were very reasonable prices. So again, example in the price structure. I found this Protar BMW Rennsport model, and the top of it was caved and opened up. Some of the pieces were opened, and the guy wanted 150 euro for it, which is just silly. And I walked down the way and met my guy Michael, and he had the same one, pristine mint. Everything was together, and the stickers are beautiful, for 100 euro. So made a deal with a bunch of different things, made a pile, and came away with some really rad models. Now, bringing them back to the States is going to be tricky because I can't pack them with clothes, squishing them, and so I had to get a little creative on my packing on the way back. But anyway, found a lot of great models, and stoked to bring those back. Let's see what else. I found some more British stuff. I bought some AJS badges, tank badges for the AJS. A couple odds and ends, nothing notable. I couldn't buy a lot of stuff because I'm obviously have to bring everything back in suitcases, but there was so much goodness at this swap, y'all. There's something for everybody. Whereas at the American swaps, you're gonna find a lot of Harley. There's usually one guy with some good BMW stuff, or British, you'll find a lot of British stuff, but there's not a super lot of variety. The appeal of American swaps is usually finding that one guy who has the weird stuff. The Italian swaps, obviously a lot of Italian stuff, but that's kind of it, so if you're looking for Italian stuff in Italy, train. If you're looking for Italian stuff in Italy, you will find it. But at Veterama, I found the most variety and the most high quality stuff of any swap that I've been. Now, everything is, now, that said, a lot of pre-war. So if you're looking for old stuff, or even early American stuff, early British, talking 20s, 30s, all over the place. Certainly a lot of car stuff. So the depth and quality of items at Veterama is insane. But all said, 22 hours of walking. It's Monday morning here today, and I'm just sort of wrapping up, packing everything, getting ready to leave tomorrow morning. But yeah, awesome trip, very well needed. I did a sauna last night after all 3 days. Now I'm in Frankfurt. I'm gonna hang out, do some shopping. Got to get gummy bears for my daughter, and great trip. Would recommend. I'd like to come back. Apparently, Hockenheim is the smaller of the two Veteramas. So Hockenheim in the spring, Mannheim in the fall. Mannheim's the one to go to. So if you're on the fence, need anybody to convince you, yes, the answer is yes, you should go to Mannheim Veterama. Great trip. Nice little break from the cafe. Um, Huge thank you to my wife for holding things down while I'm gone. And we'll see you next year.